Welcome back to Behind the Workflow. Today we have an incredible guest with us. Her name is Haley Hatcher, and she's the founder of Heart-Centered Podcasting, which is a full-service podcast agency that helps clients launch and manage their shows through done-for-you packages. She's passionate about amplifying voices, especially women-led businesses, making an impact across industries. And Haley started her business literally overnight when the agency she worked for closed, and she's been growing ever since. Her work is equal parts heart and systems, and today we're going to dig into all things workflows, client ops, team building, and what it really takes to go from a freelancer to a CEO. Haley, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you, you too. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, we're so excited to have you here today. And for those that may not know you yet, what is Heart-Centered Podcasting all about, and how did this business come to life overnight?
Yeah, I love this question, and I think it sets like a really good stage for how I love to serve my clients. So I was working at another business agency previously to starting my own business, and I was doing podcast production there. And then, like you said, overnight that business closed down. And so I was like left with this decision where I could either go out and try to find your traditional 9 to 5, or I could use all of the clients that I was at with that previous agency and then kind of like move into a solopreneur option. And my husband, he really encouraged me. He was like, Haley, like just try it, especially because we had an 18-month-old at home. So overnight I had a couple clients already. And for that, I'm very grateful. I know it's like very hard to start from zero. So I will never discount how lucky I am to have started with a handful of really great clients. And from there, my business just grew. I got a lot more clients from referrals, and it got to the point where I didn't have any more time capacity. So I had to hire my first team member. That was a little after a year being in business. And since then, we've grown. I have grown as a CEO, as a woman. And I like to say that my business has really like grown right along with me. It's been through so many iterations, but that's like very much on purpose, right?
Oh, absolutely. It always is. And it's so interesting too. Like I see a lot of similarities in our stories in some way. And like we just, before we started recording, had this whole like connection moment, which was really, really cool. And I think that sometimes in life, like the things that are meant for you literally just fall into your lap, not without intentional like curation of that, if you will. Like, you like this work, you like this thing, but your path kind of evolves, and
Yeah.
it's really cool to see how the perfect thing can land in your lap in the exact moment that you need it. And it can be the very thing that helps you grow and stretch into so many different ways. And like now you get to create all these incredible podcasts for different women who you work with to amplify their voices even more. So like that is so incredible, which is fantastic. But yeah, let's go into a little bit about your podcast workflow and all the things.
So now that Heart Center Podcasting is supporting like multiple clients and shows, I'm curious, like, what is your current podcast workflow like, either for yourself or for your clients, like from onboarding a client all the way to publishing an episode?
Yeah, definitely. So from the start, I always love our workflows to be very like co-creative so that my clients feel 100% comfortable, right? Because if you have a podcast, whether we're launching or whether you are already established and handing it off to me, your show means a lot to you, right? It's your baby. It's a part of your business. So I like to make sure that my clients are uber comfortable. So after they have signed and paid, usually we have a onboarding call where we talk about their needs again. And at that point, I really customize their workflow to what they need, what they're comfortable with, what their package is. And I guess I'll caveat too, when I say workflow, I say that a ton. And for me personally, what that means is after the client records their episode and gives me their raw audio, what is every single step that has to happen after that, right? So we, again, cater that to what they need. And a lot of the times they'll hand me their audio and then my team will go in. I will have my editor do all of the editing. I don't do any audio editing from day one. I never have. That is not my zone of genius. And then we'll write show notes. We'll create a blog post. We'll do full scale promotion for each episode. So a couple posts for Instagram, video clips, write a newsletter, get everything scheduled for them. So again, the only thing that they have to worry about is recording their episode and engaging with their audience.
That's fantastic. I laughed when you said the part about the editing, because that was the piece that I started when I started, my agency years ago. I started with editing specifically. Like I started as a freelancer on Fiverr, and that was like the piece. And so now I still have, to this day, the struggle of like letting the editing go, because I actually find it so soothing to sit and I'm just like listening to a podcast. I'm like, I'm editing it along the way. I'm like, this is so relaxing, but it also takes hours. And I'm like, I don't have time to do all of the editing. So you're so smart to have not even taken that on from the beginning.
I know. And I was just I have a coach as well, and she was saying, Haley, like you are in the minority, because most people I've talked to who have a podcast agency of some sort, they always start with the editing and then like grow from there. And I'm just like, yeah, I just knew that was never in the cards for me.
I really like that. And then you also have mentioned that you do check-ins with your clients as well. How do you find that is important for, continuing to manage your workflow effectively, but also making sure that you have clients that are happy with the results?
Yeah. So I actually just changed my check-in process probably in like the last 3 months. Before it was just kind of like willy-nilly. There wasn't much structure to it, but now I have an automation within HoneyBook that there is an email that goes out on the 30th of every month. And it's kind of like, okay, what went well this month with our production? What could be better? What do you have coming up in your business as far as launch-ins or new lead magnets or whatever it is that we want to promote and tie in with dynamic ads and or just like tracking links in the show notes, things like that, so that we're all on the same page. But then my clients, they're also with me. I use Asana for my project planning tool. They're also with me in Asana. So if they have a question on anything specific as I'm working through each individual episode, they're always welcome to check in with me there as well. So I just try to keep all of the lines of communication open, but like it is a fine line, right? Like you have to be able to really balance that, because I used to be available for my clients like whenever they needed me, but now I have like in my contract, like these are the hours I work, which right now I'm doing a 3-day work week and I am not available like after 3 p.m. So you can talk to me. I mean, you can ask a question anytime, but I will like answer within those hours.
I love that. Taly,
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's just a beautiful example of like very lean, client-friendly workflow overall. I love it. And I love the automation part. So you have your system pretty streamlined, like you have a good process going. I know you mentioned Asana and HoneyBook, but what are some of either the tools or systems that have been like really game changers for running like all these multiple shows and all of the clients at once? And I'm curious, like from the whole, like all from the beginning, like when you guys are planning the episode all the way from the time that you guys put that episode live.
So, I mean, anyone who has a podcast will say like Riverside, Descript, Squadcast, whatever it is, like that really changed the game. I think that those online recording studios help a lot, especially now that we live in such a a video heavy world. Being able to create those clips in each of those platforms and easily add captions, easily add branding. I love that. And then I will use Chat GPT to support me with content writing sometimes, but I am still kind of not hesitant, but I haven't just like let the reins go all the way, because something that's really important to me is nailing our client's voice, right? Because I think that is a really hard thing for business owners to delegate, is someone writing for them in a first person point of view. So I will use ChatGPT to help support like, okay, here's the episode. What are some really great talking points? What are some really great value points that we should highlight? And then like going from there. With my team, I use again Asana, but also Slack to communicate internally. And then I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, Canva, obviously, to create graphics. But yeah, I don't know. I think that I try to keep it super lean, and what I have right now is working really well. And I'm just so grateful for the advancement in all of the tools that we each use every single day.
I love that you're using AI, but you're still trying not to replace knowing your client's voice. So that's so good. And that actually makes your work way more personable and also like powerful overall. One follow up question, real quick. I don't know how your clients' shows are, but do you handle like guests for them if they have interviews on their show? I'm curious about what happens before you guys even press record.
Yeah. So a part of working with me is I will set up your guest workflow. And so what that looks like is whether you use Calendly, Acuity, HoneyBook, no matter your CRM, I will go into that back end and create a scheduler specifically for your podcast, right? And within there, I'll create a form to make sure that I have everything that I need as far as the guest name, email, website, bio, headshot, social links, etc. They have to fill that out in a form, and then also creating that email automation that follows, letting them know like, hey, this is when your episode is. This is the things that you can expect to talk about. We'll be meeting on Riverside. Here's that link. Mm-hmm. So the goal is that all of my clients have to do is send them that booking link one time, and then there is no back and forth in between because it's all automated. Nice. And then they show up, have an interview, and then when it comes for me to produce the episode, all I have to do is log into that spreadsheet or log into the back end of the CRM, and all of the info is already right there for me.
You know how uncommon that is? What I've learned I don't know if you've ever noticed this or kind of, from your own experience, but what I've learned is that there are so many, like, okay, so even just bringing on a new show from like a different team over the last like couple months, I'm like, where's the intake form? And I'm like, where's the booking link? I'm like, where's the automation? And they're like, we don't have that. And I'm like, oh, and I think to myself, I'm like, how do you manually schedule it? I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, takes so much time. Like, it's wild.
Yeah. I know. And I like set that up for my clients. And for me, it feels so easy because I've been doing it so long that I have a template that I follow essentially. But they'll be like, oh my gosh, this is a game changer. And I'm just like, it is. And it was available to you all along, So it like makes me happy that it's like really like, I feel like, again, going back to the heart-centered piece, it's just like the little things that we deliver that make the biggest changes.
100%. And I think that is so important to be intentional, and when you're creating content, especially because you have this really powerful opportunity to amplify messages that are super important. And if your process is chaotic to do that, it makes it really difficult to get the message out clearly, because then you're constantly like, okay, what's the next episode? What is the next thing that we're going to create? Oh, we got to rush this production. We got to rush this editing. We got to rush these graphics. We can't have time to promote it. Oh, we're behind. Oh, this. So it's like, if you don't have a system that's actually working for you, it can be really challenging to take the message that you want to share and do it in a way that is going to land for the people that are receiving it. And a lot of that has to do with systems and processes.
But I do want to add to another really important piece along with like that guest intake form is creating just a really simple tracker that usually for my clients is what I do. We'll batch ahead on this tracker, usually like 6 to 10 episodes at a time. And it'll say the episode number, the date that it's going to be published, the title or the topic, if there is a guest, the links that you're promoting as far as like internally for your own business, and then like any other notes that you might have. So again, it's like all there on the sheet. You take an hour, if that, per month to fill in that info. So that way too, I can batch out tasks in Asana, because like in Asana, I'll go month by month. So 4 episodes at a time, batching out for me and my team. And I don't have to ask like, okay, so what's coming up in August again? Like who's coming? What do you want to talk about? Because it's all right there. And so I think that's another thing, like when I don't have to talk to my clients a lot, that for me is a sign of success, because we have everything like on the back end dialed.
Exactly. That's so powerful. And you know what's interesting also, when we were bringing Northflow to creation, I remember sitting and I was like, we need a production schedule. Like we need a place where people can go in and know exactly what episode is going live, when it's going live, what is the order, what is the date, what are the things that are in it, what ads do we have, when is it being recorded, like every single thing. Because that's also something that I created for myself within my agency first, like years ago, was this like schedule. And I love being able to look at it and seeing like, okay, what do we have coming down the line? And then also it's super helpful too when you're booking guests in and you're trying to either fill a gap in, in production, or if you're trying to plan around a product launch, a course launch, if you're a business podcaster or something else, then you can kind of see and like organize what episodes do you want to go live when to support that launch, right? So without having that kind of bird's eye view, you don't have a direction. It's like, where are we going?
Yeah, exactly. And it's good for like historical data, like looking back on like, oh, what episode did we talk about XYZ on? And it's like all right there for you.
Yeah, exactly. Can we talk a little bit about SOPs and different templates as well? Because I feel like you may be good at this.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I have templates, whether it is a launch client or a management client. And right now I have 3 different management tiers. So for each of those 4 offerings, I have project templates in Asana that I start with. And then I will customize those templates again to be specific to what my clients might need, and then creating SOPs for my team. So usually with my new clients, I'll be the one 100% doing their workflow, the first couple episodes that they're contracted with me for. And while I'm doing those episodes, I will record video. I go on Loom and I just like literally record my screen like, hey, here's our new client. They are using WordPress for their blog post. Here's how you set it up. So that, again, it's all right there. And a lot of it, you would think, okay, maybe they don't need SOPs because there's only so many different ways you can do WordPress, so many different ways you can do hosting, Squarespace, whatever, etc. But it's just good to have so that, again, it cuts down on any back and forth communication that would happen when I do delegate it. And that way we know, we are all working from the same foundation. So whether I'm doing it, whether my team is doing it, or whether my client is doing it, no one can tell the difference.
I love it. I love a good template. And then there's actually a stat for this from Trainful or Trainual. That's what it is. That says that standardized process can reduce onboarding time by 50%. So when you're creating SOPs and building out templates, like you said in Asana, you're not just organizing, you're actually speeding up like the growth, you're scaling trust, and you're actually giving your future team a clear runaway as well. Plus, like the client knows that they can trust you because you're very good at keeping up with that process that you have set in place. So I love it.
Yes, definitely. And I love that you said future team too, because that's something that a previous coach taught me was like, create SOPs before you think you need them, because then that just takes so much pressure off of you when you are going through the hiring process. It's just like one less thing that you have to worry about.
100%. I am not the person who started out with SOPs from the beginning. And let me tell you, you can do it. It's fine. Like you can train people and you can get them up to speed, but it's very difficult when you have to go back and be like, okay, here's a whole workflow for this. Here's how we do this. Here's how we do this. So we've created them now, within my agency. But at the beginning, it was so like go, go, go. Because similar to you, we literally started pretty much overnight, and we just didn't start with SOPs from the beginning. And it made it, challenging when I had changes in team dynamics and like, different people coming and, going and whatever. And I'm like, hold on. I'm like, this team member literally knows every single process and now it's gone. It's crazy.
Talking about team, do you currently have a team and also like, I'm curious how you handle like delegation?
Yeah, so I have my editor who has literally been with me since day one. He was the same editor that we used previously in the old agency that I worked for. So shout out to James. And then I have had a few iterations of either VAs or other podcast managers who have helped me. But right now I just have James and then another right-hand woman who does pretty much anything that I can do, which is so nice. And then I also have a copywriter who I'll bring in if I have a client who their voice is maybe more challenging for me to get, or I want to be really careful about how I'm writing something based on their content or what they're launching. And that's like on an as needed basis. So when it came to like actually delegating, it was very hard at first because I think every business owner, like as they start, they're kind of like one with their business, right? And so for me to get comfortable with delegation, I had to get comfortable with like separating myself from my business. And that really helped. Like, this is not Haley Hatcher, like, this is heart centered podcasting. And so making that mindset shift, and then again, just trusting in the SOPs that I had, trusting in the skill of my provider that they know what they're doing and communication is open. That made it easy. And then, after I started delegating, I was just like, yeah, I waited too long to start doing this. And it changed everything for me. It opened up so much more time for me to work on things in the back end of my business, to work on more of those sales tasks, to get more clients through the doors, things like that. So it really helped me step into that CEO role.
That's amazing. What surprised you the most in scaling your business, your agency?
I think how hard it was mentally. I never really took that into consideration. I always just thought like, okay, if I have all the processes in place, things will be easy. But at least for me personally, they weren't. I always tell people like, if you want to find out the parts of yourself that you need to work on, become a business owner and they will be shining so bright. So just like healing those parts of me, whether it was like around scarcity or around selling or around like how I am in my own leadership, around it even showed me places where like I could be a better mom too. And so I think from the beginning, I wish I would have taken more time to set out more practices for me that would help ground me and help me be like present in the moment and help me know that business like ebbs and flows, and it's not about trying to control your business, but like trying to control your emotions around the business.
That's a really good point, because you can very easily make the business a direct impact to your worth and your self-worth, and that's not necessarily the truth. Like, they are separate. And so that was something that I had to learn a lot of, because I put so much of my self into the business that when I did, because it used to be, my agency used to be branded under my name, and then I split it off into Volt Productions on its own. So it was very similar, like that mindset shift of like, hold on, like this is separate and it can be separate, and we don't need to have like, it doesn't always have to be just me at the forefront of it. But then it's also, this is the thing that I created, and this is like my self-worth felt so tied to it. So it made it challenging to take a step back or feel like that was okay, was always challenging for me. And I'm still not perfect at it. I'm like, what do you mean?
No.
I can do it. I'm like, I can do it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
but
give me
you're
all the
like
tasks.
so right. Yeah, you're so right though. I remember my husband saying like, if you have a bad day in your business, or if you lose a client in your business, that doesn't mean like you have to have a bad day at home. And I think when
true.
yeah, but it's hard, right? Especially like if you work from home, there's like not that physical boundary of like, okay, I can't just like clock out and leave all my work and my emotions about that work like at the office, right? Like they're with me everywhere. My computer is like right there. And so yes, learning to set those boundaries has just been like such a game changer.
Yes. And this leans in perfectly to the next question, is actually just about like when you're dealing with clients, like what have you learned about setting those expectations early? How important is that? And I love that you mentioned earlier that you do a 3-day work week. How do you make sure that just during those 3 days you can get all the work done so you don't have to worry about the rest of the week?
Yeah. Share the secret.
Yeah. I mean,
the
right
3-day
now,
work week in me wants to know the secret.
Right now it's 3 day, just because like it's summer and my summers are slower because like I have my kids home with me from school. Usually though it is a 4 day work week, but I make that happen again by first, I think the best thing and easiest thing you can do is making it clear in your contract. Like, these are the hours that I'm available. These are the hours you'll be able to hear from me, whatever. Um, and then when I am batching out tasks in Asana, I don't put anything due on Fridays because Friday is the day that I have off. So nothing on Fridays. And then the stuff that takes a little bit more time, like actually listening through the episodes and things like that, I'll stack on Mondays so that I can get that over with. And then usually I'll do that on Mondays and Tuesdays. And then Wednesdays and Thursdays, I'll reserve for writing. So I like to keep like all of my days sectioned off, I guess, where it's like, okay, first I'm doing audio, then I'm doing content. And that really helps me to know like, okay, this is like what I have upcoming. This like it looks the same every single week. So doing it that way and then just holding that boundary myself. And if my clients message me late on a Thursday night, or maybe they message me at like a 5 p.m. or something like that when I'm logging off, I say, hey, I've seen this, but I will respond within 48 hours. Or even like in my email signature, I have my working hours so that it's like all right there. So yeah, I just think the best thing you can do is set those expectations from the beginning, hold your own boundaries, and plan around them.
100%. I think that this is a really, really, really good tip. I like the tip about putting it in your email signature. I think that's fantastic. As we start to close out our conversation today, I want to know, what is your favorite workflow hack? It can be Asana, it can be a calendar, it can be a form, whatever it is. What is your biggest workflow hack?
Asana through and through. I've been with Asana since day one and don't know how people manage like not having some type of project management. I do like ClickUp, I do like Notion, things like that, but Asana is just what I'm most comfortable with, and I use it to its full extent, right? And I try to keep all communication in there too. So I know we talked about email signatures, but I like told my clients that I would really love for all of our communication to stay in Asana, not even in email, just so that, again, we're all there, we're all on the same page, we all have access to the same information. So if you're like just getting started, I would say play with each of these different project tools that are out there and find which one feels most comfortable to you and run with that.
100%. Notion is my least favorite. Notion,
Yeah.
and then I find it so difficult, but that's not
It's
here nor there. I don't
so,
want to start.
I'm like, Notion is for the artists, like the super creatives.
Yeah.
If you use Notion, I love it for you. It looks beautiful for
Yes.
you, but
Yes.
I cannot get my
Not for me.
brain to wrap around it.
Me neither. I need like simplicity. I need you to tell me, like, I want it to be just be simple. I want it to be easy. I want it to be very straightforward of how exactly to use it. And with Notion, there's so much creativity that sometimes I'm like, hold on, I would get lost in the weeds, and I don't have the time for that. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't have
Yeah.
time to sit here and build all these incredible Notion boards. But some people can create some really incredible stuff. I'm just saying. But
We've seen
okay,
some, yeah.
yeah. Okay, our final question for you, and then we're gonna do a couple key takeaways. We like doing a couple key takeaways for our listeners, so we can wrap up with a nice little bow. But what's one piece of advice that you'd give to someone who's ready to grow their podcast agency, but may be struggling to let go of control?
Just do it. I know that's like such a bad piece of advice and it
not.
feels so simplistic when I say it, but like after you do it, you will wonder why you waited so long. You will see that it's so much easier than like this worst case scenario that you're building up in your head, and it'll make you a better business owner and make your day to day just so much easier.
1000%. Beautiful.
Yes, then let's jump into our key takeaways. So I noted some of the things that Haley was sharing with us, and I just want to break them down a bit. So one, would be build before you're ready. Haley launched Heart Center Podcasting literally overnight, proving that aligned action and strong why can carry you through uncertainties. And also, number 2 would be delegate early and document everything. Creating written SOPs from start helped her delegate faster, grow quicker, and maintain consistency across all of her client projects. And number 3 would be quality over everything. Even with AI in the mix, make sure you keep an eye on what AI is writing for you. SOPs equals freedom. If you have a good solid SOP, you'll have freedom. And also for Haley, SOPs not only helped her scale, but also price currently and create consistency, even when she was solo and she was able to bring in new people in, which takes me to the next one, which is delegate to grow. Haley has never edited a full episode herself, and that's awesome. She hired an editor from day one and later added a podcast manager to expand the capacity. She also learned that letting go is the key to growth. So good job, Kaylee. And then number 6 would be use tools that protect your time. Number 7 would be mindset is the real CEO muscle. And number 8 would be align content with launches, not just ideas for sure. And then boundaries build sustainability. If she could go back, she said set the either a 3 or 4 day work week and ban work apps from her phone earlier, and also try to make sure you have those guidelines and so your clients know what to expect from you.
Definitely. And I want to say too, like, all of this stuff I learned by making so many mistakes in my business. These good boundaries, these mindset practices, these templates and SOPs, they did not happen overnight, but I'm still standing.
Made me think of that song.
Which is amazing. Amazing. Haley, where can our listener connect with you so they can explore more?
I am on Instagram at Heart Centered Podcasting, and then LinkedIn, just my name, Haley Hatcher. So I would love to connect, would love to chat. If you have any questions about how I've done my workflows, how I've delegated, about Asana hacks, just come into my DMs and I'd be so happy to answer them.
Yes, and you also have a free resource, right? I'd love if you could share that with our listeners.
So I have a few free resources which you can find in the link in the show notes, but the one that is like a most relevant to this conversation is you can download a template of the workflow that I use with my management clients. So you can see exactly where I'm starting from, and you can adopt that into the own project management tool that you choose.
Amazing. That's incredible. Haley, thank you so much for being here with us today. Before we wrap up, I will just plug I know we've talked a lot about different tools that we've used, all kinds of different things for guest management, for project management. Asana is an incredible tool. And of course, this podcast is Behind the Workflow, and it's brought to you by Northflow. So we do have to also plug in Northflow to go and check out for your project management, for your podcast management. The link for that is in the episode notes below. But Haley, thank you so much for being our guest today and for joining us for this conversation.
Thank you for having me. It was so fun.
It was so nice to meet you.
And we will see you next time Behind the Workflow. Bye for now.